Hi everybody, I'm standing in Fort Wayne, Indiana. It's a northeast part of the state of Indiana, and I'm here at Johnny Appleseed's gravesite. Johnny Chapman was his former name, and he traveled across the states of Indiana and Ohio and others, providing apple seeds and planting for settlers. I'm going to take you around to some of the monument and show you around, so come along. This here is the monument, and it says, "In fond memory of John Chapman, known as Johnny Appleseed." These site's improvements were provided by the Men's Garden Club of America and the Johnny Appleseed National Memorial Foundation, September 25th, 1965. Should be able to go in here and I'll show you around. It's really neat. They have these stones here with chip stone underneath it, and there is his actual marker, Johnny Appleseed, Johnny Chapman. He lived for others, 1774 to 1845. And if you notice, these are apple trees and berries. I would say they're like smaller fruit apples over here. And this sits atop of a hill, and there's a reading over here I'm going to take you to. But this is really neat. People have picked the apples and set them down at his graveside. Now, we just went through that. It is open to the public. It's not a locked gate. You can easily access it if you want to and read up on the marker, and you can walk around. It's a really nice area. You could also take a picnic down here. There's a really nice Johnny Appleseed campground through the wooded area back here, and it is to be said that his parents were actually buried here. Now, this is a gravesite landscaping marker, just saying that it was provided by the Johnny Appleseed Festival. And I believe these markers over here, this is Barthenia. Let's see, it's kind of hard to read. December 15th, 1890. Aged 70 years, 5 months, and 8 days. Now, earlier I said his parents, but I think it's just relatives of his. So maybe some descendants of Johnny Appleseed's relatives were buried along here. I'm going to go on the other side and look. Now, whether or not these are apple trees that were planted by him, it very well could be. I don't know. But they are definitely mature apple trees. Now, here's another grave marker. It says Charles H. died February 24th of 1873, aged 2 months, 25 days. Lucy V. died February 13th, 1877, aged 3 months, 27 days. It's interesting how they did grave markers back in the 1800s. They would do it down to the day. Florence E. died September 17th, 1880, aged 2 months, 4 days. And I believe it says children of L. If I'm reading that right, it's hard to see for sure. M. Bowser, B-O-U-S-E-R. Like I said, it's a little hard to read, and I'm thinking these are his family descendants, because you have them around these markers. John Porter. Died, he was 71 years old, October 3rd, 1880. And then Sarah, wife of John Porter, died October 5th of 1832. Some interesting history here, that's for sure. So we're gonna go over here and read this marker. Those are actually cherry trees. So you've got cherries and apples, and these apples are really mature and makes me think that they've been here for a while. So we're gonna go right here. Johnny Appleseed, 1774 to 1845. Johnny Appleseed, legendary planter of orchards across Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois, was a real person named Johnny Chapman. He was a friend of God's creatures and a missionary for the Swedenborgian religion, a Christian denomination. He was a smart businessman. Moving ahead of the waves of westward bound settlers, he purchased property, carefully sowed apple seeds, and had seedlings available when settlers arrived. His seedlings were valuable because apples were highly nutritious, and orchards were a symbol of permanency. So you can imagine, you know, that makes sense. If someone settles, let's just say they're settling here, but there's an orchard, it signified, you know, you had permanency of that land, which makes sense. He sold trees for 3 cents, and if you wanted them planted by him, he would charge you 6.5 cents. Look at that, 6.5. A half cent. So Johnny was a very generous and often saying man. He would say, pay me when you can. It's very interesting. Johnny lived a life of service and harmony with nature, and that impressed Native Americans as well as his fellow Americans. He was a proud patriot. His thoughts were focused on God and the afterlife, and his greeting was often, I have good news from heaven, it says. He must have been a good salesman. People loved him. And this flask here, it talks about, you can see that flask on display at the History Center. And the amber flask was given, he gave that to a little girl on her birthday, and it gives us a clue to his success and fame. Material things meant little to Johnny. When he could make a child smile, he'd give a pioneer family the means to improve their diet or increase their cash income from apples or applejack. Cider and applejack were pioneer currencies. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this little video, and stay tuned for more.